Hi. It's good to see you again. It's almost time, I think, for me to get a haircut. I look ridiculous. But even though I look ridiculous, I'll still read to you. We have 3 books today. The first is called Sulwe, and it's hard to see because of the plastic on the cover. But it's a very pretty girl. Then we have How I Met My Monster. And finally, in my Anaana's Amautik. And I'll explain that when we get to the story. Are you ready? Am I ready? Let's find out. Sulwe. Words by Lupita and Nyong'o. And pictures by Vashti Harrison. Sulwe. Sulwe was born the color of midnight. She looked nothing like her family. Not even a little. Not even at all. Mama was the color of dawn. Baba the color of dusk. And Mitch, her sister, was the color of high noon. Hardly anyone at school looked like Sulwe either. People gave her sister Mitch pet names like Sunshine and Ray and Beauty. People gave Sulwe names like Blackie and Darky and Night. Sulwe felt hurt every time. So she hid away while her sister made lots of friends. Sulwe dreamed of being the same color as her sister. She wanted real friends, too. So she got the biggest eraser she could find and tried to rub off a layer or two of her darkness. That hurt. She crept into Mama's room and helped herself to makeup. Oh no, she would hear about this from Mama. Sulwe decided to work from the inside out and ate only the lightest, brightest foods. She's eating banana, mushrooms, milk, white bread, cauliflower, popcorn, salt, all light-colored foods. With a stomachache, she went to bed early and turned to God for a miracle. Dear Lord, why do I look like midnight when my mother looks like dawn? Please make me as fair as the parents I'm from. I want to be beautiful, not just to pretend. I want to have daylight. I want to have friends. If you hear me, my Lord, and would like to comply, may I wake up as bright as the sun in the sky. Amen. When Mama came in to wake her for school the next morning, Sulwe rose to find not a trace of daylight in her midnight skin. Sulwe told Mama everything. Mama asked, "What is your name?" "Sulwe," she muttered. "And what does it mean?" "Star," Sulwe whispered. Brightness is not your skin, my love. Brightness is just who you are. As for beauty, Mama said, rubbing Sulwe's stomach the way she always did to comfort her, you are beautiful. Sulwe sighed. Well, you're beautiful to me, but you can't rely on what you look like to make you feel beautiful, my sweet. Real beauty comes from your mind and your heart. It begins with how you see yourself, not how others see you. Now, up you get, and out you go. How could she, as dark as she was, have brightness in her? How could she have beauty when no one but her mother seemed to see it? How could she be a star? That night, a shooting star appeared at Sulwe's window. "The night sent me," the star said. "Come with me." Sulwe hopped onto the star, and off they went. "Long ago, at the beginning of time," said the star, "there was night and day, and they were sisters." They loved each other very much. But people didn't treat the sisters the same. People gave Day pet names like lovely and nice and pretty. People gave Night names like scary and bad and ugly. She felt hurt every time. Well, Night got fed up and walked right off the earth. Day stayed behind and enjoyed making everybody happy in the sun. But then the day grew too long. See how hot everybody is? And how tired everybody is? Day began to really miss her sister. So did everybody else. There had to be a way to get her back. Day set off to find Night. And she did. "I miss you," said Day. "I miss you too," said Night. "But you don't know what it's like to be treated badly for being dark." "You're right, I don't," Day replied. "But what I do know is that we need you just the way you are. Come and see." Night returned, and the people rejoiced. "We need the darkest night to get the deepest rest. We need you so that we can grow and dream and keep our secrets to ourselves." The stars chimed in. "Brightness isn't just for daylight. Light comes in all colors, and some light can only be seen in the dark." While day had a golden glow, with night everything had a silver sheen, elegant and fine. Day told her sister, "When you are darkest is when you are most beautiful. It's when you're most you." Could it be that night did not need to change, not even a little, not even at all? Now that night and day were back together, a little bit of night returned to day in the form of shadows, and a little bit of day returned to night in the form of moonlight. They were inseparable from that moment on and promised to celebrate the brightness in each other, whether people chose to see it or not. "You see," the star explained, "we need them both on their sunniest day and their darkest night, and every shade in between. Together they make the world we know, light and dark, strong and beautiful." Sulwe rose the next morning beaming. There would be no hiding anymore. She belonged out in the world, dark and beautiful, bright and strong. And if she ever needed a reminder of her brightness, she could look up at the sky on the darkest night to see for herself. Sulwe felt beautiful, inside and out. The end. Next is a very scary story. I don't know if you can handle it or not, but we'll try. You're pretty brave, right? How I Met My Monster. Words by Amanda Noll and pictures by Howard McWilliam. Oh, look at all those monsters. Oh, this is such a scary book. What have I done? How I Met My Monster. One night, when I reached under the bed for my truck, I found this note instead. Monsters, meet here for final test. Z. Ha! My parents were obviously trying to trick me into staying in bed. I didn't believe in monsters. So I crumpled the paper, grabbed my truck, and zipped over to my garage. I heard some creaking and rumbling, but I wasn't scared. Our house always made noises at night. But then a voice under the bed scolded. "Stop that stomach grumbling! The child will hear you!" Voices? Stomach rumbling? It was part of my parents' trick. It was pretty cool. I peered into the inky blackness. 5 pairs of eyes blinked back. "See, now he knows we're here," the voice sighed. "One of you has broken monster rule number 1. Maintain the element of surprise." This is no trick, I thought. There are monsters under my bed. A long-necked yellow monster slid out, followed by 4 little monsters. "Rule number 2, the yellow one instructed. Never block the bed. All of you scoot over." Hey, I realized that one must be their teacher. I sat up straight, mesmerized by the monster parade shuffling across my bedroom. Can you imagine all of those monsters hiding under your bed? I told you it was a scary story. "That's better," the teacher monster said. "Access to the bed is clear. Now, who knows rule number 3? The purple monster teetered on his tiptoes and gurgled, "Get the child into bed." "That's correct, Genghis. And how would you do that?" "Well, Mr. Z, I would roar my scariest roar." "All right, give it a go." Genghis took a deep breath, opened his mouths, and let out a tiny Stomach rumbling would have a better chance of getting me into bed than that funny little noise, I laughed. "The child is right," said Mr. Z, shaking his head. "That was not sufficiently scary. Genghis, I'm sorry. You're not the best monster for this child." There was some creaking as Genghis slunk beneath the bed. Oh, look how sad Genghis looks. Poor Genghis. Before I could investigate where Genghis had gone, Mr. Z said, "Now, who wants to try to get the child into bed?" The orange monster looked at the ceiling, and the red monster looked at the floor. Only the green one looked at me. First, he stared at my toes and started drooling. Then he took a step toward me, and I heard that rumbling noise again. I sprang into bed so he couldn't get my feet. Mr. Z blinked. "Very unconventional, Gabe. Your stomach gurgles seem to be what this child needs." What I needed was to make sure this little Gabe monster didn't eat my toes. "Right, you 3. The child is now in bed," said Mr. Z. "As every monster knows, the ultimate objective is rule number 4. Who can tell me what that is?" The orange monster bounced and squeaked, "Keep the child in bed until it falls asleep." "Correct, Morgan. And how would you accomplish that?" "Shadow puppets! Shadow puppets!" she squeaked again. Gabe whistled through his nose, and I snickered, but Mr. Z said, "Interesting idea. Try it." Morgan hopped onto my night table and flailed her arms near my lamp. Silly shadows blobbed onto the wall, and a cloud of fluffy fur tickled my nose. Achoo! "Morgan, stop at once," Mr. Z ordered. "You're supposed to scare him, not make him sneeze." "I'm sorry, but you're not a match either." Morgan's arms flopped to her sides, and she scuttled under my bed. There was some more creaking, and Morgan was gone. There goes poor Morgan. After all that sneezing, I really needed a tissue. Suddenly, a huge shadow of uncut claws loomed across my room. "Awesome," I thought. "And kind of scary." I froze in place. "Powerful performance, Gabe," said Mr. Z. "But do either of you see a problem?"
"Oh, I know," chirped the red monster. "The child is out of bed again."
"Correct, Abigail," Mr. Z continued. "And one of you must get him back in. Let's revisit rule number 1. Maintain the element of surprise." All at once, poof! The monsters vanished. Then I heard more rumbling. Were they hiding in my closet, making noises to scare me? No, it was only my stomach grumbling. All this excitement was making me hungry. I tiptoed past the closet door and peeked out the door. So far, so good. No monsters. Then I stepped over the squeaky chair and sneaked down to the kitchen. As I reached into the pantry, I heard some chattering behind me. I sure hoped it wasn't that toe-loving Gabe. I yanked open the fridge. Ha! It wasn't Gabe. It was just the red monster shivering on the shelf. "Found you!" I laughed. "Nice try, Abigail," said Mr. Z, "but this isn't working. You're not the right monster for this child."
"But Mr. Z," she whined, "it's not my fault he's not scared of me."
"I'm sorry, Abigail. Let's go." Abigail clomped behind Mr. Z. When I heard the creaking, I knew she was gone. Aw, poor Abigail. She tried. I grabbed some crackers and headed upstairs, wondering if Gabe was gone too. Is Gabe gone? I think I see Gabe. There's Gabe following him. I munched all the way down the hall, and Gabe is eating the crackers he drops. When I opened the door a minute later, oh my goodness, Gabe was definitely not gone. He was right there, and he was huge. I charged into my bedroom and slammed the door. When I leaped into bed, I knew my toes were safe. Phew! I was surprised to hear breathing under my bed, ragged breathing, and stomach rumbling. "Hey, kid," Gabe growled. "Good to see ya." I pulled my covers up tight. "Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to start the evening with an ominous puddle of drool." I peeked over the edge of the bed. Green ooze spread soundlessly from underneath. Gross. Can you imagine that green goo coming from under your bed? Not to mention that big hairy tail. Then the bed quivered as Gabe unfurled his spiked tail. "Well, this looks quite promising," Mr. Z noted. When I heard some more creaking, I knew Mr. Z was gone. I was alone. With Gabe. Gabe loomed over my bed and began sharpening his uncut claws on my bedpost. How'd you get so big? I gasped. Rule number 5, my friend, he explained. People food makes monsters grow. So, thanks for the crackers. Got any toes I can munch? I scrunched in my feet so Gabe couldn't get them. This was way better than playing with trucks. No toes tonight, but you can have this, I offered, tossing the stuffed monster off the bed. Gabe dove for it. His soft, comforting snorts filled the room as he snuffled the toy. I shivered. Kid, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. No other monster can scare me like you, I giggled. Gabe was the monster for me. His snorts and oohs were perfect. I yawned and shivered again. I was asleep in no time.
The end.
Okay, a less scary story. Our last story. In my Anaana's Amautik. Words by Nadia Sammurtok and illustrated by Lenny Lischenko. The Amautik, she's covered in fur. See his mom wearing a coat called a parka. And the Amautik is the hood that the baby's sleeping in. In my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, I feel warm. The warmth of her skin feels like sunshine, keeping me safe from the cold. I love being in my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, it feels cozy. The way the material swaddles me feels like being wrapped up in soft clouds. I love snuggling up inside my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, I feel calm. Her scent reminds me of flowers in the summertime. I love breathing in the smell of my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, it feels soft. The fabric inside feels like a bed of cotton grass. I love curling up inside my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, I feel safe. The protection of the hood around me is like my own tiny igloo. I love peeking out from inside my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, it feels peaceful. Her breathing feels like the ocean waves gently rolling in and out. I love sleeping in my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, I feel happy. The sound of her laughter is like a glistening stream trickling by. I love playing in my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, it feels like home. It is familiar, like my Anaana's warm kisses all over my cheeks. I love relaxing in my Anaana's Amautik. In my Anaana's Amautik, I feel loved. The gentleness of her movements reminds me of her hugs and her love for me. I love my Anaana's Amautik. The end. I hope you enjoyed your books, because I enjoyed reading them to you, and I'll have more next time. I love you. Bye.